I think we're ready to start, and this topic, it really ties very nicely with what Dr. Samartin told us about, only that we're looking at a little bit more of the micro scale instead of the micro scale that the ABA is introducing to the plants when they're introduced in the drought conditions. So save water while enhancing reforestation success under the challenges of climate change. That is actually a really big issue. And based on the introduction, thank you very much, the moderator of today's sessions, introduced all this kind of background, but I'm really happy to inform you that recently I've been also assigned by the G100 women of the world as the country chair for farming and agrotourism, which is something very happy that I'd like to inform you about. So let's see, it seems, there we go. So Mediterranean ecosystems. Hello, everybody from Greece. It's midday here in Greece. Part of the Mediterranean ecosystems, and we're really struggling how to actually enhance success while also saving water at the same time under all those challenges that all ecosystems experience worldwide, particularly for those Mediterranean ecosystems that I am here. So as a short outline, I'm going to start on the need for the research. What is the aim of that? And I'm going to introduce a couple of experiments that we're running here, and we're working for quite a while now. The methodology that we followed, I'm going to share some results and discussion, and some of them have already been published in international journals. Conclusions, what else? There's always a what else, and what is the next step? And of course, a take-home message that hopefully most of the audience will have in mind by the end of this presentation. So here in Greece, in Italy, Spain, pardon me? Oh, it's not for me. Somebody's unmuted, yes? Is everything running okay?
Yes, Dr. Valasia, no problem. I think someone here is unmuted themselves. I'm trying to mute them. I think one of the
sounds
organizers.
good. I'm just keep going. Yes. Yeah. So we do have here the Mediterranean, we're semi-arid ecosystems. We do have intense drought periods, especially during the summers. Here, this is a very nice view of the northern part of Greece where I'm located. We have the three legs. This is from the first leg, one of the sites that we had to restore after some severe events that we had. Fires is one of them, and we're really struggling with them. Most of you might have heard the latest problems that we had with fires.
Excuse me, Dr. Valasia, sorry to interrupt. Your slides sharing, could you make it full screen? And it looks like it's not progressing. So
it's not progressing. Okay.
Yeah, we just still on the first slide.
I see. Thank you for the notes. Yeah. It's running for me very well. So maybe I will just run it like this, and I'm not going to have the animation. Do you see that now?
Yeah. Now we can see. But it's not on full screen. So
that's okay. It's okay. I don't think it matters. It seems that full screen is causing the problem. Okay. So I'm gonna run it like this. It's okay. Yeah, animation really adds a lot, but instead of just not progressing rightly, I'm gonna keep going like this. So we do have this outline. This is the short outline. We're in the Mediterranean ecosystems, and hopefully you all see the slide here. We do have an intense drought. So this is the photo that I was talking about in the past. And we do have those altered growth conditions. So climate change undoubtedly does that by these increased temperatures of those areas. Many of you might have heard that this last summer was not very good for us. And in other places worldwide, we had really intense fires to a big extent. But at the same time, this is what is left out this after a fire event. Nonetheless, though, the climate change don't have only fires. Many of the areas are experiencing floods. Mediterranean ecosystems are not an exception into this. Floods are really a big problem, especially for creeks that they flood occasionally, or at a very period of 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, maybe it's going to be 100, but it does cause problems, as you can see here at the photo. This is some of the seedlings that we transplanted at the forestry greenhouse, and the areas were flooded. But it's not just the flood of those areas. At the same time, due to the climate change, we had really freezing problems. So what you see here is water, but it's freezing water on the left photo from what you see. So it's not just having the water for quite a while. We also have very low temperatures during March, for example. So I was in another conference a couple of days ago. It was snowing, and it was very south, the Mediterranean areas. So this is a problem, especially for periods where the growth seasoning has started for the plants. And then you have all this flooding on the top, freezing soil temperatures that is causing a lot of problems with the active cambium of those seedlings. So those really intense weather conditions pose many problems, and we do face very serious problems when we are trying to restore those sites. And of course, due to the lack of moisture, we have irrigation problems, especially during the summer. Most of you, Greece is in the Mediterranean area. Tourists are really high during that season, particularly for the islands. And the problem there comes more intense, and the availability of the water is even bigger, smaller amounts of water. So that reduces the transplanting success. And what we really have experienced here with transplant, and right after, one of the must things that we need to do is water those plants. Otherwise, we're going to have the result, as we can see here, with one of the Quercus rubor that we tried to transplant in one of those areas and just lose all the transplanted seedlings. So we do need the restoration activities in those areas, like in Greece, like in Italy, like in Northern Africa, and many other places worldwide. Because as we know, Mediterranean areas are in California, are in Southern Africa, are in Australia, are in Northern America. So there are 5 at least places that they do have similar kind of climate. And of course, there are also arid areas. So transplanting efforts are really a problem. We're trying to do our best. So is there a way actually to enhance the transplanting success while also saving water? Because water in those areas is very limited. A few days ago, I was in Israel for another conference, and we could see here the really need for water for those areas, especially when they were dealing with the floodplains for production of many species for their sites, even for agricultural areas. So the aim of this study is drought preconditioning and the effect on the seedlings. So for different species. So what you're going to see, part of what we're doing is we're trying to do different species based on their altitude, and we're trying to enhance the transplanting success while saving the water. So the hypothesis is that in most of those studies, that seedlings that undergo a degree of stress, in our case, the stress is the drought. So we're trying to limit the amount of the water that the plants get prior transplanting them. Then we kind of get the metabolic activity of the seedling in such a way to get it ready for the highly stressed conditions when they're in the field. So root growth potential is one of the tools that we have in order to be able simply try to see what would be a possible response of those seedlings and what is the needs for the water of the seedlings in order to water them but at the same time sustain their growth and get them ready for transplanting them on the sites. So we're trying to do these experiments. Here you can see a photo of the chamber that we're growing them. So why do we actually use root growth potential? We do think that it's a very good surrogate for the potential food performance. So we're trying to estimate the physiological ability of those seedlings to produce new roots. And roots are the dynamic of the plants to give water and nutrients when they are on the transplanted sites. So if the root growth potential, the ability of the seedling to produce new roots is high, then most likely this seedling is going to be able to maintain itself when it's been transplanted on the sites. With this, the conditions there are controlled. So we have the photoperiod. It's a room where we control the photoperiod with the lights. So we have 18 hours per day, 6 hours of light that's alternating with those timing. We do have control room temperature, but also bath temperatures are in the water at a temperature of 20 plus or minus 2 degrees Celsius, warm water. And they're mixed, they're placed in this kind of trays, and we have water in there. We're trying to see the extra growth of the roots by putting a mixture of peat and sand one by one and see what we come up with. So for this study, I'm going to show you a low altitude Pinus halepensis and a high altitude Pinus nigra. Both of them, they are dry tolerant species. They can take a lot of drought conditions, but the main difference, of course, there are two different species, but the one is can be found in lower altitude and the other one in higher altitude. And see if we actually apply this kind of treatment, if there is any differentiation on the performance of those seedlings with emphasis on the root growth potential. So what we see here are the stainless trays where we put those seedlings in there with the extra soil, and we're trying to see this really nice, thick, beautiful white roots that they are taking out the soil and the nutrients. This experiment, we had 3 treatments. So we had 2 were based on irrigation frequency. So we had 2 waterings per week, and then we had only 1 watering per week, and of course 1 watering every 2 weeks, and see what we come up with. Just for your own information, the usual regular watering for forestry greenhouses during the summer is on a daily basis. This is why we have the forestry nurseries located close to rivers. So whatever you see here is pretty much a stress for the plants. However, we're trying to see what is going on because, we have limited trays, limited resources, and let's see some patterns that we can study. Let's get a little bit to the results here in the discussions. After a month of putting them in there and who are having those watering treatments, we extract the seedlings. And this is the results that we had here. Following, you will see a few photos that it's going to help you visualize what we're talking about here. So what we have is the Pinus halepensis on the left and the Pinus nigra on the right. And we can see that the leaf dry weight is way more in the nigra than the Pinus halepensis. And we do see differentiation in the seedlings of halepensis that they were receiving the least water, having the least amount of leaves. So maybe that might show us that Pinus halepensis has a thing for leaf abscission when they are stressed under these watering conditions. The new root dry weight, so these white, really thick roots that we saw here, we can see that they are bigger in the Pinus halepensis at the lower altitude compared to the nigra. You can see here that the means are very low, and the seedlings that they received the least water, and this is only 1 watering every 2 weeks, seems to have the biggest root growth of those seedlings. Let's go to the maximum new root length here. And here again on halepensis, we saw longer roots, new roots. growing of those seedlings. And in order to help you a little bit visualize what we're talking about, on the left you have the Halepensis with the really thick roots growing, and on the Nigra you have same treatment, and this is only one watering every 2 weeks. These are trays of the same treatment. We still have growth on the Nigra, but it's more on the lower altitude species. And with this, if we had the animation, you could see it's really great. But it seems that preconditioning for both pine species maintain their welfare, even under those really low watering treatments that we had to do, of only one watering every 2 weeks. This is a photo. This is a site of one of the photos that it was. We took it after a huge fire. But here you can see that those really parent trees are very helpful to be the source for the natural regeneration to occur. And of course, altitudinal distribution of the species needs to be taken into account when we are dealing with transplanting success, particularly for those in the field. So that was what was this. Only 2 of the species that we've been worked, and I saw you some of the results. We've been working for a number of species, and we're trying to see this different kind of behavior based on the ecophysiological kind of input of those seedlings. And to us, what is next? Of course, somebody would say, oh, in the lab, everything is fixed. You have the light here, you have the watering here. We do have results though, but what's going on in the field? So we're trying to take it into a little bit of the next step. All of you most likely know that field work is a lot of work, a lot of unbiased for our results, but it's field. So let's see what is going on out there. If we have any outcomes. So preconditioning and irrigation, we try to do that for a number of species. For example, here at the photo, you can see 5 watering treatments for one of the experiments that we did, that I did for Quercus and Quercus robur. So you see here, I'm not going to analyze that, but you can see from the leaves and the response that after a month of irrigation, this is how things are looking. So we have 3 waterings here every week, 2 waterings, 1 watering every 2 weeks, and we try to take it a little bit further, 1 watering every 4 weeks, just to see if we have any survival in those areas here. So let's see what is going on. What we did is we preconditioned those seedlings, but we tried to preconditioning them outside. We had everything free for the climate, the temperature, the wind, all those interactions. We tried only to limit and control the irrigation frequency. So we had to put them in an area where no raining water would be received from the plants. And we were trying to see I'm going to show you some results only from Alnus glutinosa, which is a species very demanding in water. And we can see huge differences based on the previous Pinus species, the pines that we had in the other experiment. So let's see what's going on here. We had 3 waterings every week. I'm just reminding that for the forestry greenhouses during the summer, this is outside during the summer, the plants receive daily, the water daily. So here we had to do with 3 waterings every 1 week, 2 waterings every week, 1 watering every 1 week, and then 1 watering every 2 weeks. So you can see very clearly from the photo here what the plants are receiving and what is the response by the end of the month when we had to do the extraction of those seedlings. We had after a month of irrigation, we took the plants, watered the soil, cleaned the roots, and then we took the subparts, because it's really important for us to see what is going on under there, what is going on with the roots. Do we have a difference in the lateral roots? Do we have a difference in the number of the lateral roots or the main root of those seedlings? What are those subparts dealing with? In another study that we were trying to see what's the effect of the container, we saw big differences when we had container of the same volume, but different kind of structure. So the containers that they had the upper part bigger compared to the lower part, they had more roots up there. And this really produced seedlings that were more vigorous. So let's leave that at the back. Let's concentrate here. We took those seedlings, all this procedure, and of course we cooked them. It was time for food. It's almost lunchtime here in Greece. I hope our audience is still with us. Keep up with what I'm talking about here. So we did cook them here. We killed them, unfortunately. There are some results for this experiment. What we see here, we have no root growth by the end of this experiment here. We do see some differentiation at the number of the roots because we counted all the number of the roots. There's no difference here, no difference, no difference. So you see most of them, they were pretty much in the same kind of conditions and no results, nothing. So we didn't have what we did find in the control kind of temperatures. So we took those seedlings after a month of those treatments, and we tried to put them in the field and see what in the world is going on. A lot of work, good master students, good PhD students. They're doing all they want. They just need some right guidance, and they're right out there to get us some very, very interesting results. And we did put those pre-treated seedlings in the field, but we also transplanted them in the pots and see what is going on. So in the field, we didn't water them at all. We just let them be. And in the pots, after in this condition that they were transplanted, we watered them for two times a week for a month and 2 months, and see what is going on after that. So field transplant, the seedlings were extracted right after a month, but also we tried to follow and keep up for 2 months. So what we were trying to do, just to get you a little bit with the change in the seasoning, we were pre-treated the seedlings during the spring this time here. And then we wanted to transplant them because we usually transplanting is taking, right now April. We tried to do it May because we wanted to see the effect of the summer when we have them out in the field, what is going on. So we transplanted them in May, took them out in June, and then took them out at the end of the summer, like August, the beginning of September. So I wanted to see what is the effect during the really harsh conditions of the summer. That's what we're interested for. And this is actually when most of the fires take place. So this is the extraction. We can see some really nice roots even after a month. This is very encouraging. This is a photo of some of the roots here just to see. It's a lot of work. We try to actually measure this root growth potential of those transplanted seedlings. And here's what is going on for after a month of transplanting for those water treatments. I'm not going to get into the details, but I really want to emphasize here the root growth potential. We do see after a month in the field, new roots growing in the field, statistically not different though, but we do have new roots out in the field. People are the plants are trying to invest in the growth of the roots in order to be able to sustain what's coming up next for the summer. So here we do see that. And of course, in the pots, the same after a month, when we had the pots, well, we do some root growth potential. It's really smaller than what is being in the field. So we can see the difference when you transplant in the pots and when you transplant in the field. And the following diagram really shows this difference between, you see in the red, it is the field transplant, same seedlings, same treatments. At the same time, the one was just transplanted in the field and the other one was transplanted in the pots. But here you can see that in the field, they were doing so much better in the growth. They were catching up although they were stressed, not much water, but we can see that they were doing so much better. And we do here see after 1 month, the difference between the treatments with the seedlings receiving only 2 waters every week. Yeah, and it's a it's a seedlings that receive 3 waters every week. We took only 1 watering, okay, because we didn't want to show you all the waterings, but we do have difference in the plants that they were, you see here, that 3 waterings every week. So let's see what is going on for the 2nd month. Now we can see more root growth potential. These are transplanted in the field. You can see up here in the picture just to help you where we're standing. We do see differences. They're doing so much better, so more roots. What is going on in the pots? Less root growth potential. Still, though, we do have, and it seems that this is enough to give us statistical differences. Here, as we can see, the watering of 3 waters per week and 1 water per week. They were able to stress the plants and give the ideal outcome that we wanted. So after 2 months, we do see that there's difference in the root growth potential. The ones that they were transplanted in the field, this is what I'm showing you here. This is only one of plants with 1 watering per week, only 1 watering per week. So we do see the root growth potential in the field exceeding way more than what's going on in the pots. And of course, all the other parameters that we measured. I don't want to get into this detail because I really want to see the main point, that is the root growth of those seedlings. So this is what it is, some of the conclusions. I'm not gonna say too much for the conclusions. Take-home message should be more than enough. So drought preconditions is a useful tool for nurseries practices, and we do, it has the seedling characteristics, and we do have the potential for increasing the transplanting success of those seedlings, while at the same time we save water. If this can be used for seedlings that they are transplanted out in the field for our ecosystems, can you imagine what can happen for agricultural areas if this is the outcome? Of course, it needs to be considered, you know, the growth of the seed and whatever is other related with the agricultural kind of species. Okay, I'm not an expert in agriculture. I'm more of a forester. So we can see that, and 1 watering per week saves a lot. So what else? Oh, there's always what else with us. There's not stopping point here. Study more species, more lab, more field work. We are working on this, of course. Still working on that. We have, the students are very good. We do our running experiments that we have under, you know, the controlled irrigated sites. So we have here, you can see the seedlings. This is another species. This is Platanus orientalis. You know that this is a very water demanding species and it needs water. So we do have experiments on this. Hopefully we will publish it soon, and we will see what we come up with this. And of course, research, study more species to improve productivity and increase transplanting success under the challenges of climate change. Some have some doubts of that, but what there is no doubt about it is the abrupt climatic conditions that happen worldwide, the increased temperatures that they are occurring, and we have to do something about it to help our species maintain our biodiversity, maintain its well-being for the ecosystems that we're working with. Bear with me a few more minutes and I will be done, and hopefully we'll have some time for some questions here to work with. What else? There's always a what else, and the most important thing is what we're doing right here at this conference, and I really want to thank once again the organizers of this program for giving us this opportunity to inform people about this big things that they happen in the micro scale, macro scale, in order to improve productivity, maintain biodiversity, retain our ecosystems, and have this scientific outcome come out. So as I said here, it's me right here. We did have pre-COVID, the international meeting at the headquarters of the UNESCO in Venice. And we did talk about this. What are some ways that we really need to implement and sustain our ecosystems in order to be able to fight against climate change and against all those obstacles that we're facing? And from my poor experience, international experience, I can see that there are many, many things that can be worked in many ecosystems to increase productivity. So what I really hope you do have in mind is drought preconditioning is a way for enhancing the transplant success while also saving water under the challenges of climate change. And this I will be more than happy to entertain questions. This is my LinkedIn. Most likely I work with my LinkedIn and my professional. You're privileged to, some of you have my personal email address. So I will be more than happy. I'm going to stop sharing here. And I will be more than happy to answer some of the questions that the audience might have.